Boom.
Alright, today everyone, our group project is Ariento Secure Webpage. My name is Dylan.
I'm Garima.
Hey, I'm Arco.
I'm Matthew.
And to get a little gist of our project, I guess it's important to understand what Ariento itself is. Next slide. So Ariento is this like very new startup, but our client, his name is Chris Rose, and him and one of his partners in his MBA school at UCLA founded this company which offers business solutions and mainly security solutions for these small businesses. Small businesses make up like a huge majority of the workforce in America, and oftentimes people in these small businesses aren't very tech savvy. They don't know how to use like really secure like file sends online. So this company Ariento solves all those problems. Next slide. And so the way they accomplish this right now is they sort of onboard employees of these companies to use a technology called Virtue. And what this does is it applies end-to-end encryption for all of their emails with this little plugin to all of your like Gmail or Yahoo inboxes. To get a better understanding of it, so if you have like two Gmail users that are sending stuff across to each other through Gmail's like encryption methods, like it's probably going to be pretty secure. But if you have more like obscure mailboxes, like maybe UCLA's mail server or like a tax company's mail server, those might not be as secure or safe. So if you're sending stuff from there to Gmail or something like that, you really don't have that end-to-end encryption that Virtue over here offers. And so currently what Ariento does is they instruct all of the companies who are dealing with their users to tell their customers like, hey, if you want to send tax documents, your medical records, what you got to do is you got to log into your own email, attach all of your important files, apply this plugin over here called Virtue, and then send it to the destination to the recipient. This is a very taxing process for someone who's in their 50s or 60s. They don't really know how to use like computers that well, and so they want to make this process way more streamlined. And so that's where our solution comes in. The problem statement is basically instead of having each user log into their individual email accounts, they will have a centralized web portal on that company's webpage. So if I was like a tax company, I would have a little like webpage URL, and on that webpage would be an embedded Dropbox, kind of like your CCLE upload Dropbox, where all of these older, not so tech savvy customers can go into that web portal, apply their attachments, put a little message, and then like, add a destination for where they want to send that email to. And that removes a lot of overhead for the customers, and it's very easy for everyone involved to use. And it's important to note that on the portal itself, this is embeddable through JavaScript, so that way Ariento makes a lot of websites for these clients, and they do that using like Squarespace or Weebly, and so if we have an embeddable JavaScript that applies these Dropboxes, it's very easy to add that to the website. On the webpage itself, you specify a sender and receiver, and the web server, our responsibility is really to guarantee and ensure that it has that encryption that all of these emails provide with Virtue. And this here is like a general overall workflow diagram of how it works. With the way they foresee the project is there's going to be like an admin portal for that like tax company, for example, and using that portal, they'll generate the JavaScript that can be embedded within the website. And then once that's there, any employee can use the website to receive files and attachments from their customers. And where our group comes in is, next slide, is that we're basically just doing the JavaScript part. So another group in this discussion section will handle all of the admin portal websites. So that's sort of like the front end where you receive inputs to create the Dropbox. We're just figuring out just how the Dropbox works, how the authentication works for all the file receives and sends.
So our solution for this problem consists of three major steps. The first step is sending the email. So we want the company to put in the recipient into the email and click send, and this email goes along with the information goes to the Ariento server. After that is the verification step. Ariento checks if the recipient, the files, the message, and the company are valid. If they are valid, then the email gets released and the recipient receives the email. And in the from category of the email, it shows ariento@nameofcompany.com. So we chose the solution because, like Dylan said, we wanted it to be really simple to use. So the solution is very similar to a lot of the other email clients use, and the things that the user would interact with looks like really any other mail service that you would use. And you don't have to remember to turn on a Virtue plugin like you would with Virtue. And also it helps keeps the data secured because all of the information is verified as to where you are sending the data to. It has to come from a pre-verified list of emails, so it makes sure that you keep the information within the company. So like Dylan said, our work is split between two teams. Our team is implementing parts of the send and receive section. So for sending, we are going to make sure that the email and file drop is implemented and the information is sent to the Ariento server for verification, and we make sure that the email actually gets to the recipient. Here are a couple of general mockups. So this is an example of what a sender would interact with. As you can see, there is a to email, which I've just picked up a company named Game, and they have an example of game.com that they're sending it to. There's a subject, there's an email, there's files that you could drag or drop or use the upload button on the side. There's a reCAPTCHA to make sure that you're actually a person, and then you can click on the send button. And then here's another mock-up for the recipient. As you can see, the to email is the same as it was before. The from is Ariento@game.com, which was the example company that we picked. The subject, the email, and the files are the same. So everything does get transferred over.
All right, so now we're going to talk about the technical details of the project. So for the front end, we just use mostly just basic JavaScript, CSS with Bootstrap template, as well as a Jade templating engine for the HTML section of it. So this is for all the user interface UX stuff.
For the backend, we're basically using Node.js for our server with the Node mailer as one of our libraries to send the emails. We're using the Express framework for Node, and we're using a lot of JavaScript to handle some of the logics. And on the encryption portion, we're using SMIME with Office 365. The SMIME is basically a standard for like public key encryption and for signing in. So because Virtue API is not publicly available, we talked to Chris, and Chris wanted us to use SMIME to implement the actual encryption possible for like more abstraction, and so we can actually get to the core, and it's more beneficial for the client. So now we will be doing part of the demo. So explain what we have done so far. Okay. All right, let's mess up. Okay. Cool. So first, we will be starting our server. So how we start the server is our node server that's starting, and in the browser we now currently put it in our local host. We will be putting it in the AWS server soon, and this is what we have currently.
Yeah, so we just implemented like a bare bones Webpage template for now. We'll refine it a bit more in the subsequent weeks. So the two features we have are you could just upload the file normally, just through directly there, or you could do it via drag and drop. So we'll demonstrate using drag and drop. So these are the files that we've currently put in the queue to upload.
Right when we put it in the upload, we can see like in the backend over here, the files have been uploaded, and if we go to our actual upload folder, the files are there. Now the files name are different because we want abstraction to happen when the recipient actually receives the files. We don't want them to actually be able to know what the actual files are, where the names are. We want to put abstraction in between. So the encryption isn't done, but we already like implemented some abstraction in there.
Right, and then now we could fill in the from and to fields. So we're going to fill it in with Arco's email, and then he's going to send it to my personal email. And then hit send, and then we'll see on the top left that I will receive the email.
We can see in the backend that the email was sent, and we received a response saying, oh, this is the information that the email has been sent over here. And if we refresh the mail, he got an email. We are doing abstraction that, according to the person who's in charge, he told us that when a person receives an email, we don't want them to know where the email is actually coming from. Rather, it will be generalized as Ariento server, saying Ariento is actually sending them. And later on, we'll be implementing it will more likely be, if the company's name is Game, it will be Ariento@game.com, just as Garima explained. And here you can see that the files the attached files were sent. And if we download these files, so if we quickly download this, oops, 2 and then 3. The files are downloaded, and if we look at the uploads, what we had, like for example, this is the first file. It's also the same. It should be the same. No, this one. The first one? Oh, it's not that one.
Wait,
was it this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I think it was that.
Okay, cool. This is the last one. All right. Download.
Wait for it.
Oh,
Not that one.
My bad. All right, this
There
is the
we go.
file. So all three files. So the second file was Matthew's resume, which is the second file in here.
Yeah.
So it's all the files should be the same. So we're basically showing that the end to end, there's like no loss in
Yeah.
the files.
So it maintains the integrity of whatever the file contents were.
So here are a couple of difficulties and limitations that we ran across when we were making my project. A couple of the technical difficulties that we had was finding the creating the right file objects to attach when sending the email, as well as finding the correct path of the file to be uploaded in real time. A couple of non-technical difficulties was, like mentioned before, the virtual API was not available for use. So we had to change your project scope to cover less security functions and work with S9. As well as that, we were originally going to also implement this project with G Suite, but it needed additional licensing, so we'll only have it be implemented with Office 365.
So here's our sensitive timeline. By today, we have hard-coded a website Dropbox that sends an email. By next week, we need to add encryption to the front end. Week 8, we need to be able to construct these Dropboxes and map it to an embeddable JavaScript and HTML. Week 9, we integrate our half with the other group's half, and then week 10, we're going to be fixing all the bugs there.
And that's our presentation.
My question is, what were your main technical challenges?
A lot of the back end was our technical challenge, basically like using Node to send these emails, because a lot of times Node is basically used on like not for communication, more on like web pages to like serve it up. So we had to figure out how we can use some of the libraries to send the email and use like Google's API to kind of so that the recipient can like actually get an email and then use kind of like their authentication procedure. That was one of the difficulties with the credentials, because we are sending it from like a mailbox that will be generalized. It's not like a person's mailbox itself. The person has to communicate with the mailbox that's generalized, and that mailbox communicates with the recipient's mailbox. So figuring that out was like a main difficulty.
And since you're going to deliver this to this startup, do you have to, is there like a specific product they're expecting from you, or they just told you, okay, like solve this somehow and just launch away?
So first, they wanted us to solve it using Virtual API. So when we tried to work it out, they were like, okay, the Virtual API is not available to the public, so we can't solve it that way. So you have to come up with a way. And okay, we say, okay, can we do it for Gmail and like Office? They say, yeah, you can do that. But we said we need credentials, so if we can't have to use it, you have to give us credential. And when they tried it, they said we can't do it with G Suite because you need additional licensing. We can't provide that, so we'll just provide you with Office. And we know it could be done with some encryption with S9 they gave us, and so we will be trying to do it however we can. They don't have any problem with what server we use, what front end we use, as long as it works and it's embeddable JavaScript that they can embed in their website.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
So how is this different from just like sending a file from
So when you're sending a file from one email to another, right now Gmail's like encryption is very it's pretty good, it's robust. But if you're using Yahoo, it's like we figured out it's not as good. And a lot of times this company are using clients' email that are very customized, and they don't use Gmail, and so the encryption is not good. And a lot of times when the user receives an email, they are not sure how secure the emails are, whether they should click or whether they should open what kind of email, and they're very unsure of the security. So when we're doing this abstraction, we're letting the companies, letting the clients know that it's very much secure, that whoever receives the email or whoever sends the email, they don't know each other's information. All we know is it's coming from the company, and the company is like mainly in charge. And the library we're using, SMIME, I know Gmail uses it right now, so we wanted to make it more towards other public, because with using Gmail's API, you can't access a lot of the facilities that the encryption provides. So it provides more encryption, more robustness.
But if the server stores all the files with WFF,
The server actually doesn't store any of the file. So right now, it's because because Office will be our main central system. Office we will be using like Office's server right now we're using like Gmail server to use it. So we're not actually storing it in our server currently. If that makes sense. Yeah.
So is it some sort of like a relay or like you're building a connection between your Node SMTP server to the Microsoft 365 server?
Yes.
And then during the process, you can encrypt it using S-MIME?
Yep.
Okay.
Other questions?
How you can deploy it?
Well, we're gonna use the AWS server.